What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex, and in this video, I want to talk about Batman Arkham City. Today is the 10-year birthday. Now, I did not know that, leading into it. I was told this. I do want to thank Drew, who emailed me about this. I really appreciate him, kind of bringing me over to knowing about this. Rocksteady tweeted it, which I do have a couple things to say about that, too, because I really appreciate how Rocksteady has always treated the history of their games. I've always loved it. So I do want to talk a little bit about that, but just talk about the game. 10 years later, I haven't played it in a while, but I have played it over the last couple years, so it hasn't been that long. I played it, and I guess the first time we'll talk about my experience with that and go from there. Okay, so first thing I do want to say, again, is happy birthday, happy 10-year birthday. This is an incredible game. It's always been an incredible game. I've said it before. I don't want to ever tell people my definitive rankings of these games because I am saving it for a video that I have been promising for around 2 years, and I still haven't done it. I think Arkham City is probably the best of the Arkham games. I don't really obviously there's debates, and you could easily say a different one is your favorite. I've always liked Arkham Asylum the most, so that one I would classify as my favorite. But Arkham City, I do think, has maybe the least issues around it, you know what I mean? And I guess maybe that's looking at it from a negative light, but I think when you look at all the Arkham games, maybe it's between Asylum and City. I don't really know too many people that would throw around Origins, and even less people that would throw around Night. Now, all of those games are phenomenal. Night I find to be phenomenal in a lot of ways. It's just the weaknesses of that game I think kind of hold it back, but maybe the strengths of Night are better than anything that you could argue that it's in Asylum or City. So, there's definitely different points you can make to it. I think Arkham City is probably the most well-crafted one, and you could then argue, I would say, most well-crafted superhero game of all time. Now, then you have to bring in Spider-Man into the mix, which I think is fine, and I feel like if you were to hold a weapon, I won't say the kind of weapon, but I feel like if you were to force me to choose, I may pick Arkham City. It was just, I don't know, maybe not as much now, but at least back then, again, back in 2011, Asylum shocked the world, right? There's, going back in the history books, if you guys remember back then, which I'm sure a lot of you guys probably got at day one, Asylum was so special, and it was so crazy, because to expect a game like that to actually be good was not something that people did. And then it came out, and it just was insane. And then you have to say, okay, well, sequels are tough. Now, there's a lot of gaming sequels that took it to the next level. The first two that just popped in my head, Dead Space for some reason, Uncharted. I mean, the jump between Uncharted 1 and 2 is literally insane. I don't think the jump between Asylum and City is the biggest jump of all time. Like I said, I think Uncharted and maybe a couple other games from 1 to 2, there was a bigger kind of gap in quality. But I really don't think you even needed that, you know what I mean, for our, Arkham City. Arkham City just did everything right. It expanded and added to everything that was good, I think, about Asylum. And I would very much argue it told a much better story. Now, Asylum's story is very, very good pretty much throughout the entire time, and the way of kind of sprinkling in villains that are not just Joker or even Harley, but Joker, I guess, is the main force of Asylum. Sprinkling in everybody else, they did a phenomenal job in Asylum. And then again, like when you do more open world, when you kind of branch out and expand, again, those things can definitely take hits, and they really didn't. None of that stuff. It's still filled to the brink with just Batman content. Like, you really feel like him. Now, again, like I don't remember what the slogan was for Arkham Knight, but that one made you feel the most like Batman, in my opinion. But Arkham City was very close. Hugo Strange was phenomenal, right? At least I thought so. Joker, what they did with him, the twists, the ending. I mean, I remember sitting there, and now I'm trying to remember. I know because I got Arkham Asylum the day after or 2 days after it came out, because I wasn't really paying attention to it. I remember IGN, I believe, gave it a 9.0. I watched the review, and for some reason, now again, this was a long time ago, that version of me believed IGN. And I think you could believe IGN back, 12, 13 years ago. Now you can't. But, I bought Arkham Asylum, and I went based off the IGN review. And then I think I was into games, and I was into websites, so I'm sure I knew Arkham City. I feel like I definitely bought it immediately, but I don't think I played it. Remember, a big story with me is growing up, I rarely completed games, and that really goes with these Arkham games. However, I did beat them when I first played them, but it just took me forever to actually get to them. So I feel like I played Arkham City much later than it actually released. Like, I don't think I played it in the fall. I feel like I played it in the summer, so maybe it was that summer, maybe it was like 2 summers after, but I just remember sitting there in awe of that ending, being like, wait, are they serious? Like, did they actually do that? It's filled with twists and turns. Ra's al Ghul and Talia, like, they all did so good. Everybody, every actor, every actress, every villain, I think, in my opinion, was phenomenal. And then in terms of the wider scope of things, see, you can say that, and those are, I don't have the most advanced vocabulary. You guys know that, right? I can't say too many different words from words that I've already said before, but it was an incredible game from start to finish. I know I loved it from start to finish, but looking at it now, and maybe that's just the perspective I do being a little bit older, looking at it now, yeah, you can actually see, like, these games, like, the Arkham games are so important, right? Let's not forget, like, people are getting excited for Wolverine, as they should be. People are getting excited for Spider-Man 2, as they should be. But these games literally would not happen if it weren't for the Arkham games. Like, it just absolutely would not happen. These Arkham games were such a shock, and I think that statement is more powerful with the first one, again, because it's like, it came out of nowhere, it seemed like, right? And it just shocked people. It's like, well, you've never really gotten a game that's good like this before, and then all of a sudden happens. But really, I would argue, like, it's very powerful, and maybe it is the most powerful, but the second game is equally as important, in my opinion, right? Because if Arkham City sucked, then Arkham Asylum would be like a one-hit wonder. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, well, they did it once. They did prove you could do games like this, but really you can't, because you do it once and you can't really do it again. You know what I mean? So, like, it worked, but it kind of didn't work. So, really, Arkham City proved, like, no, you can do it more than once, and you don't even just have to have it very linear, which is fine, but you don't even have to do that. You can expand it, make it bigger, add to it, add to the lore, add to the story, this kind of unique story, right? It's like, you can actually do that, and Arkham City proved that. And I would argue Arkham Knight proved a lot of things, good and bad, I guess, as well. You know what I mean? So Arkham City is very, in my opinion, very influential. Is if it failed, like I just said, if it failed, then it's like, well, Arkham Asylum, do these other games still happen? Do people still take chances on Spider-Man, on now Wolverine? Now, it took a while. You know what I mean? It took a very long time, and really Arkham was the only one for so long, but, like, again, I don't really think you do not have Spider-Man if it wasn't for at least Arkham Asylum, or the Arkham, you can say the name in general. Like, it just does not happen, in my opinion. And you could argue it probably doesn't happen unless it was the success of more than one of them. That's just kind of how I think. So, not only was it almost a perfect game, I would say. Now, again, do I think it's absolutely perfect? No, I've played it. I think I played it a year or two ago. I feel like leading into this Gotham Knights, or what we thought was like Batman, Knights, or whatever it was going to be called, right? Like, leading into that, I do think I played but I didn't play them all the way through. That's another thing. I kind of like popped in for like a live stream. I'd play like Asylum for an hour and a half from the beginning. Then like a couple months later, I played City. I don't really think that's how you should play it, right? It's just kind of how I did it for content and talking to you guys. And it's like, for Arkham City, I don't know, I feel like you need to sit down and just go through it, go through all the side stuff, go through all the main stuff, really just jump in. I didn't really do that. So it is a little tainted, but what I will say, I don't think it's aged like perfectly. Like, I do think it's to me, it's not nearly as good now as it was when it first came out. But again, I don't really think I was playing it right and not really in the mindset for it, right? So I still think it's absolutely held up. I think all of the games have held up. Not like a 10 out of 10, but they still are fine. They're fine games. I know there's some people online that still just play these Arkham games like just over and over. Those are the games they play. Nothing wrong with that, in my opinion. I think they're missing out on other games, but if that's how they choose to play games and be a gamer, quote unquote, fine. You do what you want to do. So yeah, I love this game. It's got such it's such an influence on all of these other superhero games. Literally, it wouldn't, none of this stuff would happen without it. So happy 10-year birthday. I know I bought you day one, Arkham City, but I do not think, in fact, I will guarantee I did not play you day one, but that's okay. Everybody's got their different stories. So let me know what you guys think. Make sure, as always, you guys are subscribed, bell icon turned on. If you want to follow me on any of my social medias, suggest topics, ask questions, anything like that, all of it is in the description, my Twitter, my second channel, etc., etc. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you all on the next video.